My name is R. Crosby Lyles, and this is News from the Can. This is Null School. I rarely kind of hit this up, but it's an interesting tool. So I have it on currents. This is waves. Interesting. Currents. Just my wife keeps having dreams about floods. Could be weather related. I always like to check if there's any validity to perceptions that people might have. Apparently she has prophetic dreams, and I won't go into the details about this one, but it's kind of a striking story. I think I told it already. But what I'm looking at is I'm trying to figure out what could possibly cause that in Florida. There's been some evidence that the Gulf Stream, the thermal haline overturning current, might be slowing down considerably. And if that stops, that sea level rise will take place on the eastern seaboard of the United States. So anyway, this is Null School. I'm looking at the currents, and one thing that you'll see in right up here off the coast of Nova Scotia, Maine, up here in this North Atlantic, eastern seaboard of the United States area, is you see a lot of, I'll bring this up here. Sea surface temperature anomaly. So here you see this, and this is, you can clearly see the Gulf Stream. I'm going to stay on this global thing because it's kind of brings it into a little sharper focus. And not only that, but the dimensions are accurate because you're looking at a globe. Okay, so what we're looking at here, the white, so if you can see my cursor, is right off the coast of Virginia. That's white. So you see the red there. You see the red coloration. So that is 4 degrees. So this is 4 to 6 degrees. Then the white there is 6 or 7 degrees above nominal, which is, they've lowered it. It used to be 79. Now it's 1971. So they keep moving the baseline around. This is the second time that they've done it. It used to be 79, 2000. Now it's 71, 2000 base. And I'm not really sure why they do that. Use your imagination. But in any case, so this is the Gulf Stream. And you see this red coloration, which is 4 degrees above nominal, basically. But adjacent to these blobs of red and white, which tell you that the ocean currents are warm, you also see areas that are blue and pinkish white, which tells you that that is 4 to 6 degrees below nominal. So what that appears to be is vertical mixing. One of the things that happens when so we've got things going on with the magnetic field of the Earth that has been weakening for a while and moving around. One of the things about a magnetic field is a magnetic field tamps down on vorticity. So it will make ocean currents less like a tapestry of vorticity. Also, you have to look at the angle of incidence of the magnetic field. So the angle of incidence is almost basically straight down, but it's kind of at an angle also. So that may have an effect on vertical vorticity as that surface current cuts through the water. Then you're going to have some vertical vorticity that will cause cold water from the depths to come up and mix. Used to say, there we go, daily reanalysis. That's what I was looking for. That's the magic word right there. So temperature, 2 meter temperature anomaly, that's today. But we're going to look at sea surface temperature anomaly and just kind of truck back. So this is 1st of March. So let's compare apples to apples here. And that's what it looks like, which it looks, I mean, it's definitely a lot of dark red on there, but there's also a lot of dark blue, like right here in the middle of across the equatorial region of the Pacific Ocean between South America and New Guinea. I could go back in 2 years ago. Looks like this, right? That blue hole there, they say, is indicative of thermal haline current shutting down 2018. We'll truck through this pretty quick. And it looks pretty rough there too. Still, this is interesting. That you've got anomalous heat right here in the Gulf of Mexico piling up against Louisiana in 2018, 2016, not so much. So what you're seeing here is that you have biannual fluctuations in temperature, and you have decadal oscillations in temperature. So you see what the line across the equator, and that's where you get your El Niños and La Niñas that come from the temperature differentials. The sea surface temperature of the Pacific Ocean in this region around the equator will oscillate back and forth from warm to cold, and that affects these, zonal winds and things like that. So we're just gonna do this as quick as we can here. 2014, 2 years back. See that? So in just 2 years, it's 2012. Pretty cool, right? But, you have this mixing still going on here. 2010, see that oscillation, and it's pretty cool. 2010, sea surface temperatures are pretty cool right off the coast. As a matter of fact, you can see some pink in there, right off the west coast of Florida. This is all stuff you can do yourself. Go to Climate Reanalyzer, go to the climate, and it says daily temperature SST. It used to say daily reanalysis, but when you go to the actual tab, that's what it says. It's daily reanalysis, SST, sea surface temperature anomaly, and sea ice maps. Okay. All right, so let's keep going here. 2010, 2008. Right, another oscillation back to cold. Right. Now this area here is warm. The pocket that I'm talking about is below Greenland, below Iceland, Greenland. There's a pocket right here between Britain and Greenland that they say when you got a cold pocket there, that's where the thermal halide current dives down, gives up its heat. That's where it should be. It should be anomalously warm. When it's not, that's indicative of the thermal halide current shutting down. 2006. Okay, so you see that oscillation, still warm up here. 2004. Right, now look at this. Right here, it's like a little cold spot there. But still in that area below Greenland, still probably in the pocket where it's supposed to be. 2002. Okay. And basically, one of the things that this really demonstrates is 2000 that sea surface temperature oscillates considerably. You see, this is a cold spot up here towards was that Vostok? So right, you can see a little oscillation there. 1998, sea surface temperature pretty warm out there off of Ecuador, off the west coast of Ecuador. 1998, 1996. Sea surface temperature is pretty cool. '94. I've actually done this at length on another video, but I'm going through it again. Gives you a little perspective. 94. So the hole is blue there below Greenland again, but you can see it's sort of like not really. Okay, 92. Right. '90. It's a blue hole again, so you can probably attribute that to an oscillation. Some of this you see this area right here where the Gulf Stream is coming across isn't the little blue section there. Looks like, that vertical mixing, or actually, that's probably where, because you got an ice shelf here, that's probably where melting ice is streaming down into that area, and that's probably why that's anomalously cool like that. That's another reason why that you have those cool sea surface temperatures right there. Okay. $1989. And it's really kind of sort of like, as you go back, it's sort of nominal, not really anything that will jump out at you, but I'm just for full disclosure, just kind of jumping through it. I'm not trying to avoid anything. I'm not, trying to hide anything or anything like that. I'm an explorer too. We're just 84, 82. So there's 82, right? And this is telling you that from 1971 that this is anomalously cool. So this band right here, this is a pretty big, sizable chunk of ocean water in line with the Gulf Stream that is 6 degrees, 4 to 6 degrees anomalously cool right off the coast of Nova Scotia. But go to 2022, where we are now, and it looks like that. Shock and awe. It's sea surface temperatures overall are warmer compared to sea surface temperatures between 1971 and 2000. Bear in mind that you had a couple of big volcanoes that went off, so that cooled things down quite a bit in the early 80s. 1983 or 4, we had some very anomalously cold temperatures, especially in Florida. We had like a week of temperatures in the teens in the north central Florida, which is ridiculous. The oil froze in our oil. We had an oil burner furnace. So anyway, yeah, that's that's pretty compelling. So you can see where that precipitous, where those large volumes of precipitation are coming from. Right. Here's a 2-meter temperature anomaly. So this is 79 to 2000 base. So, what's up with that? Right? That's 79 to 2000, and the other thing is 71 to 2000. So, why don't we compare apples to apples? But anyway, just to reiterate this, but it looks like the red is maybe 10 to 14 degrees C above baseline, of the 1979-2000 base. So you look at that, but then you go and you look at, okay, so let's take those right above Russia here. It looks like right in the middle, east of Moscow, then it's precipitation. Now I got some rain mixed in there, and it looks like some sleet, but there's snow. And that's another thing for, like down here in really anywhere in the Arctic. A lot of times it's snow. And if you look at the actual temperature, okay, like right here over Baffin Island, so it's anomalously warm. But that's also snow. It's snowing. And the actual temperature is cold as fuck. See that? I mean, that's like, that temperature right there is negative 20, negative 10 to negative 20. So whatever precipitation is falling is going to be frozen. And the biggest anomalous temperatures are in the winter months, not in the summer months. In fact, the baseline temperature over the North Pole has been nominal until recently when I started talking about it. You know what I mean? But it was nominal from the whole time, from 1982 to 2018, 19, somewhere in there. It was nominal. Every summer, every July. In other words, this white coloration here is nominal temperature. If you look over the the equator. So, but anyway, with the caveat, and I say all this, but here, if you look over North Africa, you see that that's anomalously warm, but that has no precipitation. And the precipitable water is not that much. The gray tells you that it's not that much precipitable water. So that right there would suggest to me that that's maybe an effect of carbon dioxide. Now, you look at the carbon dioxide once again, and it's fucking ridiculous. This is at 50 hectopascals, which is in the stratosphere. Interesting, and I thought maybe this might be fuckery coming from Russia, that it's less over the entire Russian Federation and Eastern Europe at the 50 hectopascal level, which would allow you to sort of like, if you're adding up the total column, it'll bring down, it'll make it look like you have less carbon dioxide over those areas. So that's at 300 hectopascals, which I think is about 30-something thousand feet, somewhere in there. 500 hectopascals is 18,000 feet, roughly. But that's, 500, 18,000 feet. So this is where they measure geopotential height. And that's like absurd. This is according to Copernicus, and if this is not true, we need to know about it. If it is true, we need to know about it. That's why I keep talking about it. These people are full of shit. We need to know about it. If they're not full of shit, goddamn, we need to know about it. That's just how I look at it. So, and this is a tool they put up for anybody to look at. I've been looking at it forever. You know what I mean? And but there it is, man, 500 hectopascals. So you're getting to be in the range where this can be affected by weather, because carbon dioxide aggregates water droplets. It's just a fact of life. If you get dry ice and you put it in and you bring it out in humid weather, and it'll have fog coming off of it, just like when you open your freezer. You open your freezer and there's fog coming out of the freezer if you have humid conditions. Right? So, but CO2 in general aggregates water droplets. CO2 is very soluble in water. So rain just takes it right out of the air. Rain and precipitation, otherwise they wouldn't be able to measure CO2 in pack ice, Greenland and Antarctic pack ice. You can drill down and look at ancient accumulations of methane, for that matter, because temperature affects. When you lower the temperature enough, CO2 will sublimate and it'll become part of the ice pack. So, and any climatologist will tell you that rapid change, which we've seen, it's in the geologic record, every glacial period has been preceded by a period of advanced global warming. The hockey stick. The hockey stick goes up. It goes up above the temperature where we're at now. And then there's a rapid turnaround. It drops back down into a glacial period where you have mass amounts of frozen precipitation that has frozen mammoths with green vegetation in their tracks. And that's where they stayed for 10,000 years. So this is something that happens regularly. Interglacial periods last about 10,000 years, around roughly, and glacial periods last about 100,000 years. So there's that. So that's 500 hectopascals, and this is closer to the surface, 850 hectopascals. I think it's about 1,200 feet, somewhere like that. So it's pretty close to the surface, and then of course your surface level. So there's more carbon dioxide closer to the surface in the northern hemisphere. Yes, polar amplification is a real thing. Yes, global warming is a real thing. But it's complicated by the fact that the Earth is cooled, that it's a two-fluid system that is cooled by the evaporation and condensation of, it acts just like an air conditioner. Evaporation at the surface absorbs heat. Convection, because of that expansion of humid air, carries that heat, which is not really a correct way to say it, but because heat is the flow of energy, but it carries that heat, essentially, to the surface of the cloud tops, where the colder temperatures and the lower pressure allow the droplets to condense, and when it condenses, it gives off that heat into space. So the thought is that when you have greenhouse gas in that area above the cloud tops, that it inhibits that. What it does is it's like throwing a blanket over the condenser of your air conditioner, and it drives up the heat of the whole system. So your air conditioner doesn't function as well. Well, in this particular case, the massive amounts of precipitation, frozen and otherwise, rain, we see these massive floods and things like that, is the effect of your air conditioner on overdrive, essentially. Hotter sea surface temperatures. Land masses have a lower heat capacity. The heat capacity of the land is much less than the heat capacity of the oceans. So when there's less forcing from sunlight, then it cools down much more rapidly, and then you get, because of the added humidity in the air from the hotter sea surface temperatures, then you get massive amounts of precipitation, like climate Mageddon type of shit, which is what we've seen over the last few years. I've been talking about this forever. You hear people talking about compression events and things like that, and I'm like, well, there is just the obvious, that you have warmer sea surface temperatures, and the lower heat capacity of the land masses is just going to cause a flow of water into these colder areas where it's definitely going to turn into cold, and so we wonder where the break point is. We wonder where the like they talk about thermodynamic fluid currents can change on a dime. And they do. Like if you look at a cigarette in an ashtray in a still room, basically if you put a big jar over the top of a cigarette burning in an ashtray, it'll go up in a stream. It looks like an accordion type of thing up here, and then suddenly it'll change. And so those changes are sudden. Changes in currents can be sudden. And that's the whole principle of sudden onset glaciation. So, and it could be that the Russians see the writing on the wall, and that's one of the reasons why they're trying to iron boot the Ukraine right now. And there's a lot of stories being told out there about what sort of international fuckery is going on behind that. But I'm sorry, and this is where I have to segue into the whole thing about fuck Putin. Look, man, you want to fucking just fuck Putin. He's like a ADHD child in the global community that's been fucking around. He had Lyndon LaRouche working in Germany and some of the Western European countries, producing these white supremacist, white nationalist organizations to try to overthrow democracies around the world. I mean, the guy's just basically had fuckery on high for the last 20 years, ever since he's been around. Because he's trying to make all the other countries in the world weaker while he's making himself stronger. And so the thing that I would tell Vladimir Putin is it's really hard to build an empire when you and your people are stealing everything that isn't nailed down. It obviously looks like it's hard to fight wars when you're just stealing everything that isn't nailed down. When you violate the trust of your people, it's hard to produce any cohesion. So Putin's an asshole. You can say what you want. Putin's a fucking asshole. So, but anyway, there you go. All of our efforts, and this is new. So I want to show you this 500 hectopascals. This is brand new. This 1,000 parts per million was not here like last year or year before that. This is a development over the last year. And this is a result of all our efforts to curb climate change. So, yeah, it could be some runaway methane thing going on. This is methane. So the reason I started making this video is this big hole right over Russia. But when you look at the ozone forecast, there's also a dip in ozone there. And it could be, it's possible, because it is a large landmass, because of the airflow. Let me look at climate reanalyzer real quick. 500. So this is your geopotential height. Kind of shows you the air currents. Yeah, it could be. So what I'm basically saying is that this could be an effect of maybe some false reporting or something. But you do see these holes in ozone and in methane at this level, at the 50 hectopascal. That's a thing. So that's a thing. You do see that. But the fact that it's over Russia, I don't know, it's a little suspect since they're at war right now, essentially. But the big thing is that so you see this now, there's a band of methane over the equator. Go to carbon dioxide, 50 hectopascal. And, you can't even really see it because it's like pole to pole, 1,000 parts per million. So, as somebody has pointed out in the past, so 50, 1,000 parts per million at 50 hectopascals, so the air pressure is much lower, so it's really not that much carbon dioxide. And I'm like, well, that's all cool and everything, but it's parts per million. It's a portion. It's the portion of. So I think what the scientists are trying to say is because the red is all the way over at 1,000 parts per million, it's a red line condition. And this was not here. This was not here several years ago. So whatever efforts that we're making, climate change wise, doesn't look like it's really panning out, because all this carbon dioxide has basically cropped up in the last couple of years, past 3 or 4 years, and it's basically, kind of sort of off the chain. So here's your ozone forecast, and you see a depletion of ozone along the equator, which is bad news for Australia and Malaysia, and Indonesia, and these areas down here, Papua New Guinea and all that stuff, Brazil, middle parts of Africa perhaps. So, this was not here either. So the good news is if it indeed is from methane, which I believe it is, and it'll be short term because apparently ozone replenishes itself every 100-something days, every 80 to 100-something days. And so see, this used to be a band. When I would pull this up, you'd see this band across that matched the methane band. So there's your methane band, and it looked basically like that. Well, you can't even see the fucking band anymore because it's pole to pole. So there's that. And these are your temperatures are 2-meter temperature anomaly. Looks like that. So it's a mixed bag, and the temperature is over the equator is pretty much nominal. Congo looks like they're doing okay. And if Null School is to be believed, then that's what the current looks like, and it's basically nominal, more or less. Tapestry of, and what it could just do is, with a less magnetic field, is it could just sort of like devolve into vorticities, a tapestry of vorticities. It just, instead of going straight across, it'll just muddy itself down into the middle of the North Atlantic basin. So that's it. That's all I got. Fuck Putin. He's an asshole. Gotta say it, Los Angeles Times, those are all graves. So anyway, it's outside. It looks like it's outside of a church. And those are all graves, apparently. And it's, you know, you got some graves there. So it's ugly. You know, it's like, you know, don't care. I really don't give a shit what the fucking politics are. If, you know, they're trying to blame Joe Biden. You know, it's like you got to pick one, people. Either he's a weakling, you know what I mean? He's a weakling who can't talk, or he's some sort of conniving. You know, you got to pick one, people. Can't have it both ways. Not anymore. Can't have it both ways. So there it is. You delve into the genocide thing where you're just gunning down innocent people in the street, dogs and everything else. That's it. Sorry you crossed the line. You're an asshole. Now fuck you. That's how it is. Eat shit. And with this fucking shit going on here, at the 50 hectopascal level with CO2 at 1,000 parts per million from pole to pole, now we don't have time for assholes anymore. It's over. Fuck you. And they're like, wow, you might start World War III. I'm like, yeah, okay, bring it. Oh, he might do something. You know, fuck him. You know, obviously these things have to be handled carefully, but now dude's got to go. That's it. He's an asshole. He's been an asshole for a long time. He's not helping. We got to do something about this. And we got to do something about it right now. I mean, you know, Russia's the one who's going to catch the brunt of this bullshit. So, you know, do it how you want to do it, people. But the guy's a fuckhead. He needs to go. That's all there is to it. You know, take it how you like it. It's just my opinion, but I gotta, you know, full disclosure, I think he's a fucking asshole. You know? And, that's all I got. My name is R. Crosby Lyles. Thanks for watching.